The California sun was brutal that afternoon, reflecting off the silver stars embedded in the sidewalk of Hollywood Boulevard. Tourists laughed, camera shutters clicked, street performers sang for coins, but among the noise and glitter, a small girl stood quietly, holding a piece of cardboard that read in shaky letters, "For sale, $100. Next to her feet lay a worn brown guitar case. The girl's name was Mara, just 9 years old, her dark hair cut unevenly by her mother's trembling hands, her blue t-shirt faded and one size too big. She didn't speak, didn't wave. She just stood there, her little fingers gripping the cardboard, her eyes fixed on the crowd that never seemed to notice her. Her late father's guitar rested beside her, its surface scratched and dulled, yet somehow still radiant under the sunlight, like a memory that refused to fade. He used to play it every night before bed, singing lullabies that made her world feel safe and small. But after the accident 6 months ago, the car crash that took his life, everything had fallen apart. Her mother lost her job, the rent was overdue, and the fridge echoed with emptiness. So, on that Saturday morning, while her mother cried quietly in the next room, Mara packed the guitar, grabbed a piece of cardboard, and walked 5 blocks down to where she saw people selling souvenirs to tourists. Her plan was simple: sell the guitar, buy groceries, maybe even a small cake to make her mom smile again. Before we go further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of a single good heart to change someone's world, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. It helps stories like Mara's reach more hearts. As the minutes turned into hours, people passed her without slowing down. Some smiled sympathetically, others looked away as if her sadness were too heavy to see. One man offered her $10, but she shook her head. Her father's guitar, she decided, was worth at least $100. Still, Northwest One came close. The city was too busy, too loud, too full of dreams that didn't have room for hers. And then, as the sun began to lower behind the palm trees, a shadow fell across her sign. She looked up to see a tall man with long blonde hair, wearing sunglasses and a simple white t-shirt, holding a guitar pick between his fingers. His voice, when he spoke, was raspy and kind. He crouched down to her level, pointing at the guitar. "You selling that, sweetheart?" Mara nodded timidly. The man studied it for a moment, then gently opened the case. Inside, the old guitar's strings shimmered like silver veins. "How much?" he asked softly. $100, Mara whispered. "It was my dad's." The man looked at her, then at the name engraved faintly on the headstock, Tomas Rivera. He recognized it immediately. Years ago, a young musician named Tomas had auditioned as a backup guitarist for one of his shows. He didn't get the gig, but the older musician had never forgotten his passion, the way Tomas spoke of playing for his daughter someday. Now, here that daughter was, standing before him, trying to sell the same guitar. The man's chest tightened. His name, though she didn't know it yet, was Ozzy Osbourne. Yes, the rock legend himself. He had come to Hollywood that day for an interview and a stroll, but fate had placed this little girl in his path. He didn't reveal who he was. Instead, he looked at her and asked gently, "Why are you selling it?" She hesitated, then looked down. "My mom doesn't have money for food," she murmured. "I thought maybe someone would buy it." He loved this guitar. I don't want to, but I have to." Ozzy felt a lump rise in his throat. Without another word, he reached into his wallet, pulled out a crisp $100 bill, and handed it to her. But then, instead of taking the guitar, he closed the case and pushed it back toward her. "You keep that," he said. "That's your dad's voice right there. You hold on to it." Mara blinked in confusion. "But, then I didn't sell it," she whispered. "You did," Ozzy said softly. "You just sold it to the right person for the right reason. Now your dad's music will stay with you, and the world will still hear it." He took out his own guitar from the black SUV parked behind him and sat cross-legged on the grass. The crowd began to notice, some stopped, some whispered, some started filming. Ozzy strummed a few soft chords, then gestured for Mara to sit beside him. He handed her the old guitar and said, "Let's make your dad proud." The next few minutes were pure magic. Ozzy started to sing a stripped-down version of Dreamer, his raspy voice echoing through the boulevard. Mara, shy but brave, strummed along on her father's guitar. The sound wasn't perfect, some strings were loose, and her timing was off, but it didn't matter. People gathered, some with tears in their eyes, some dropping bills into a small open case. By the time the song ended, a small crowd had filled the space, clapping and cheering. Ozzy smiled at her, placed his hand over hers, and whispered, "That's what your dad wanted, for you to play." When Mara returned home that evening, she carried not only groceries but also over $4,000 in donations from strangers who had witnessed the moment online. The video had gone viral within hours. Messages poured in from around the world, people inspired, families reunited, musicians dedicating songs to her father. But for Mara, none of that mattered as much as the way her mother cried when she saw her walk in with that guitar, still shining under the dim light of their tiny apartment. Days later, a package arrived at their doorstep, a brand new guitar signed with a single line, "Keep playing, Mara. The world needs your song. Ozzy." And so, every evening, as the sun dipped behind the buildings, you could hear music drift from their little window. Not perfect, not polished, but full of heart, the sound of a little girl finding her strength again through the love her father left behind, and the kindness of a stranger who just happened to listen. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Let's keep spreading stories that remind us how a single act of compassion can echo far beyond what we imagine. Before you go, tell us in the comments, what would you have done if you were in Ozzy's place? Because sometimes, the smallest kindness doesn't just change one life, it keeps a song alive forever.